Hello and welcome to week 4 of the FACEIT League, the final stage of 2015. It's James here once again as per usual, joined by Dan. How are you doing this afternoon / evening, sir?
Yeah, pretty good. We have some interesting stuff coming up today, I gotta say, so I'm quite curious how it's all going to turn out.
Let's have a look at the schedule, just a quick recap to see what exactly is going on here tonight. I do believe we have a triple header of Cobblestone. It seems that is the map to pick. As you can see, NIP are away 3 times and Cobble has been picked on every occasion. TSM will be heading things off though with HellRaisers on Overpass. Envy versus Kinguin on Train will be the third of 5 matches. And again, NIP will be in for 3 matches tonight. So, should be quite interesting. A lot of heavy hitters coming in with multiple appearances here today. So we're going to have a look at the rankings and see how the teams have been doing thus far here in the FACEIT League. You can see TSM there have played 7 matches so far, so they've played 3 more than second and third place, and they're doing quite well at the moment, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, the surprising thing with TSM is usually, okay, they're always a great team and they win our LANs, so which is great for them, but they usually suck during the online portion. There's no other way to color it. They just usually suck. But this time they've actually started off really well. It's the first time that's actually happened, and generally speaking, they're actually on a 14-map winning streak, across all the LANs, playing the best teams in the world. So they're in some of the best shape, in fact, the best shape they've ever been in, online and offline.
Yeah, that fighter cliche, best shape of my life. Looking at Envy and Fnatic, you can see they are 3 games away from, well, they've got 3 games in hand over TSM. Should either of those win those 3 games, they would take a 3-point lead over TSM, and you can see Kinguin behind them. Again, Kinguin, the newer team, newer roster with recent changes as well, so they're in the middle of the league, not doing bad at the moment. Virtus.pro have only played 3 matches so far, so again, their position can change quite easily. Same for NIP. Although they've only won 1 of their 3 matches so far, so they'll be hoping to change things up today.
The Virtus.pro team where basically you always expect them to do well, but they're never really showing off something incredible. They're not usually the front runners, but they're always there, like with the leaders somewhere there. You can always be sure that they're going to have like some kind of a top 4 finish. Virtus.pro always kind of funny in that way. And if you're a HellRaisers fan, you're even surprised that they qualified. Well, they've been having a lot of roster problems. If you've not been keeping up with things, HellRaisers are in a really weird place at the moment from a roster perspective. So who knows what they're going to be doing? But at least they got Simple, right?
Yeah, well, they've got there's a lot to talk about with HellRaisers today. But again, 1 to 4, they've never really done well in the league in stage 1 or stage 2. And it's not a great start from them, but Titan 0 for 5 at the moment. But again, it's a new team basically, significantly new team there. So there's still a chance for them to get back into things, but looking a bit ropey for the time being. I do wonder what that even means, Dan. When you describe something as ropey, because it's not doing very well, we'll have to look into that during one of the breaks. Do you have an idea?
That is an interesting one. That's got to be a super old reference to something.
It must be.
Like maybe it comes from sailing or something. There's also ropes in sailing.
Tug of war. That doesn't really make sense.
Ropey.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to have 2 players every match day, which we're going to offer to you as ones to watch. The first of which is going to be GetRight. Of course, he is coming up in 3 matches today, all of which are on Cobblestone, which is an interesting dynamic. I'm wondering if the players of NIP will... I mean, obviously they're playing 3 different opponents, but they've all picked the same map against them. They're playing it 3 times. So if they're going to improve over each match. But yeah, what are you expecting here from GetRight?
Well, GetRight is, I mean, he's a great player, and he's one of the most iconic lurkers ever, but he's had a bit of a slump when it comes to, like, with his team, essentially. They kind of slumped down, generally speaking, and we haven't seen a lot of the most magnificence from him. But I mean, the thing is, Cobblestone is an interesting map in that there's like a lot of opportunities for lurkers to get stuff done, and you see a lot of teams using their lurkers in really good ways. Like a guy that has as much skill as GetRight, he is that guy that maybe you can use like Olafmeister, so you can send him down, be plat, or he is that guy that can kind of take over some of the areas by himself. Because the thing about GetRight is that he's very, very intelligent when he plays by himself. Like he can read into how the opponents are going to set up their CT defenses, and let's say it's towards an A CT setup defense on Cobblestone. He's a guy that's going to be able to try to understand how a team will play that, and so you can try to abuse it. You will often see him like pop flashing himself in, like smoking himself in, like being very individual, and that's kind of like what he's really good at. So I'm hoping that he does well, because that's when NIP are at their best. It's when GetRight's playing his best.
So he is a lurker for the team, but he's also quite explosive. Have a quick highlight package for you to see of him. Then we'll go on to the second player. And through the rest, it's hunting us. The last breath is spoken. So our second player to watch is maybe unsurprisingly going to be Simple. Again, maybe we can spend a few more minutes talking about HellRaisers and what is going on there, because obviously Simple's actually, he's a stand-in for the team. He's still contracted to FlipSide. But I mean, it's not like he has anything else to do. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because FlipSide have the complete team, which Simple is not a part of. You know, they tried it, couldn't make things work there. But I guess he's under contract until either it runs out or somebody pays him for him.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is a really weird in this like really weird spot, because I think Simple had like he had a Deagle highlight on the front page of Global Offensive today, and I'm always going on about how I think he's the best Deagler in the world, and it's usually because he consistently does great damage with it, because he's just really good at aiming people down. Like that's why I say that. He's just really amazingly skilled at aiming at people, and the thing is with him is that he's so young and his talent's so high. I mean, we even had Florian tweeting, almost in just some kind of fury at how good Simple is, yet how much of a tragedy his career has been, mostly because of how hard teams have found to play with him, because it's been we've had issues when it comes to people use that word toxicity. The guy is one of these guys that will be like, he'll blame other people, negative vibes on the team. He'll be promoting those, so it's hard to play with him. And maybe he won't even necessarily make good decisions as a team. Maybe he'll do something crazy because he's Simple. He'll do the diva plays, right? And this can be a problem for a team, because if you're a leader, it can be hard to control this guy, right? And we had him under Blade. Blade's a legendary leader. He's a guy that's got such a pedigree when it comes to being an in-game leader. He couldn't really deal with it, and we saw that FlipSide were really happy, like Markov in making statements. We're really happy that we don't have to play with him anymore. And then going into HellRaisers now, we saw Angel at LAN in Stockholm, who's basically like sitting next to him, Simple, so he's in hitting distance basically. Like, that's actually more or less it. Like, so he can be basically right next to Simple and just be almost not an intimidating presence to try to control him. So he's an uncontrollable force, but he's a devastating one as well. Maybe a force of nature, one might say.
Indeed, he is. So we're expecting more explosiveness from him, and we do indeed have a highlight package of Simple as well. So let's have a look at that. He's so fast with those shots.
Yeah.
Interesting facts. I physically cannot shoot as fast as Simple because I'm taller than him. Right?
Yeah, but it's...
Or something like that.
But is it a difference that a human could even detect? Because, okay, maybe that statement's true, but is it a difference that we could even...
Well, scientifically, I think there's a calculation
he's
between...
really tall as well, by the way. He's actually a tall guy.
When you say really tall, is he James tall?
He's maybe you're 6'4", right? Which is going to be 180.
About 109. I think it's about 195.
195? Oh, really?
I think
195. So you're almost 2 meters.
Yeah, I'm close. I'm very close to 2 meters.
It's really funny because in Swedish, when you're asking people their height, this is funny because Swedish people do it, and you have like they do the direct translation thing sometimes, and in Swedish, I guess the way that you ask someone how tall they are is you ask for their length, and obviously it's quite funny if I was to say, James, what's your length? It's kind of a...
Well done.
It doesn't really quite work.
I don't think I'm ready to take
the
same
way. So it's always Swedes are great. I love Swedes.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is a calculation between height and how many like milliseconds of lag essentially it adds, but I don't know it all from memory. So
it's not a legit excuse, guys. Just then.
Time to go for the alpha draft picks now. We need to pick our team and our players for tonight's Intertubes duelings.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about which team we wanted to go with, and from looking at all the recent matches, like
wait. Excuse me. I want to see. Is there more than one like tournament thing? I want to make the cash monies. Producer Reese has been betting on Thorin's jar or some jar of Thorin's, which we won't ask more about, but it was League of Legends related. So he's made like $150 doing that.
Really?
Yeah. Producer Reese is just spending that. He's making that paper. All right. So are these all we can pick today? Okay. Entry fee. I'd feel bad if we spent all of the money that Producer Reese has won on his own. So $25 head to head. Oh, okay. Let's get in there. Let's take someone's money. This I'm ready to do, Dan.
All right. So
what team are we gonna pick?
So yeah. So we were looking at this and considering all the kind of past matches that have happened and the histories and stuff between the teams and the maps, we looked at like Fnatic. We think is going to do the best here, even though they're only playing once, and NIP are playing multiple times as our HellRaisers. We feel like those are going to be really close games, whereas Fnatic have the best chance to have like a really like they can smash NIP and Cobble. We feel last time they played it was like 16-1.
One of the super interesting things here is that NIP are playing 3 times, but they're away all 3 times. And their opponents have picked Cobble against them all 3 times.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is?
Well, I mean, they've all obviously spotted the weaknesses for NIP. Plus, Cobble is very much a popular map at the moment. One that Fnatic are very, very good at. Titan historically been really good at it, and HellRaisers. It's hard to say. I mean, HellRaisers is hard to say how they, because we have to remember.
Well, they have Sticko and Oscar now, right?
Sorry.
They have Sticko and Oscar now on the team. Adren's gone.
So yeah, we don't even know what happened.
Gone.
We don't even know what happened to Adren.
So look,
we don't know what happened with the team.
We don't know what happened with Dozier.
They selected those maps before any of those lineup changes even happened.
That is very true.
It's so hard to know what's going on there.
Yeah, and I think Cobble is a map which is not, the first map you'd think of for simple as well.
Yeah.
And I know for FlipSid had some difficulty using him to the best of their abilities. But anyway, so we're going to decide on Fnatic for the team. Because obviously NIP playing 3 times sounds like value, but they've been counterpicked 3 times, all the same map. That for me and Dan is a red herring. First player.
Yeah, I mean, Olaf Meister is always going to be a pick. We're talking about Fnatic, and you're expecting a player to do well. He's a great bet. I mean, it's always really hard with Fnatic. You could easily have changed Olaf here with Crims or JW or something on a Cobble game or something. You could easily make those justifications. But today we felt like some Olaf, so we went with Olaf Meister.
Okay, and I am going to pick Get Right. He's one of our ones to watch, so I think it's a no-brainer there. And again. He is arguably the best player in the world, or one of the top 2, 3.
Actually, plus, we were talking about, how his role is the lurker. Again, one of the most iconic lurker players. So we'll actually, be able to, as he's playing Cobble 3 times for NIP, we'll get to have a nice big sample size in a concentrated dose of Get Right playing lurker on Cobble. So I think that's a really nice spotlight pick, actually, because of that reason.
Next pick.
We do have Forest, so so many NIP games. If there's going to be 2 players that you think are going to do well, I think Get Right Forest pretty easy to pick those. The AWP can be a little bit random sometimes, so we didn't want to go value this today.
I am going to pick Zipnix because he is currently considered the best support player in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he's going to be an important player for TSM. And also, we need to spread our risk. Again, NIP are playing 3 matches. But what if they lose all 3 matches and we can't pick too many NIP players? So, Zipnix is the choice.
Yeah, I mean, Zipnix at the moment is it's actually amazing, his storylines. The fact that he went from being in danger of being potentially removed from the team to actually stepping up massively, really putting the work in, and being what people are calling now the best support player in the world. Which is a pretty sick storyline, if you ask me. And then lastly...
But we've got 2 picks left.
Oh, we do? Oh, which one did we not say?
We haven't picked Simple, which we should pick because...
Because he's simple.
Because Simple, yeah.
Yeah, because you have to pick Simple. Actually, there was a Cobble clip. Of Simple as well. And that is actually why FlipSid used to be like one of the most feared teams on Cobbles, because Simple, you stick him on A with an AWP, and he would just wreck everyone.
And Michael, I think, because G2 are playing, they're playing Train, but the thing is, like, that's the only map they're playing today, and really I want to get a G2 player just to spread the risk. But like what we've seen recently from G2 on Train is that there's not always like one person who's picking up the AWP first. Sometimes it's been Makalele, sometimes it's been Dennis, sometimes it's even been Fox. But for the most part, Makalele picks it up first, so gonna get him involved.
Yeah, they're probably the team that has the like 4 players that are like really good with AWP, and could easily main AWP if they really wanted to. I like Rain a lot at the moment. So you know, if it was my decision, because me and James tend to like go like 1 for 1. We try to share.
Pick half and half, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I might have gone with Rain maybe, but who knows? We'll take my player today and see what happens.
Okay, now it's time to get our unicorn game on, Dan. You fan of unicorns? I certainly am.
We suck at the League of Legends questions though.
Do we? Well, I think we're 1 for 1, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, apparently today's a
okay.
StarCraft question. Producer said, I would have just assumed it was League of Legends.
Is this
Who is Savior of the Templar? Wait, I know this. It's Zeratul. I'm saying that because I don't know. Wait.
It's not Abathur. Oh my god.
I was saying that because Zeratul was the only
God,
name I recognised. I thought the other 2 names were just nonsense names, Dan.
No,
but I think they're actually related to the game.
Yeah.
So now we actually have to think about this. Is Zeratul the one you get to control in the campaign?
I'm pretty sure it's probably Tassadar, because Zeratul is the Dark Templar hero guy, right?
Is he the guy in the campaign?
I think Tassadar is
Dan, is he the guy in the campaign?
Well, the thing is, even if he is, I don't know.
Oh, so you don't know?
I actually think it's Tassadar.
Wait. You think it's Tassadar?
Yeah.
But
it's not Abathur. Abathur is like a Zerg dude.
Wouldn't you think?
I'm not mistaken.
Wouldn't you think that the Savior is the guy you play in a campaign? Wouldn't that make sense?
Not necessarily, no. Because
really?
Not with
but
StarCraft.
Surely
StarCraft lore is pretty in depth.
But surely they want you to be the Savior. They want you to save things. Or is this related to the new one?
Well, he is a Dark Templar, isn't he? So I guess it could work.
So you think Tassadar? Because I think Zeratul. But it's because it's the one I recognise, Dan. I did play the campaign.
Oh my god, I'm actually not sure now because I don't know. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. No, wait. I once did a.
I can't remember who Tassadar is.
I have a story, Dan.
I know it's a super important character.
Oh wait, no, we should go back to the camera for this story. All right, and we'll come back and answer the question. It's an important story. So, like playing StarCraft 2, right? I never played the StarCraft 1. I played the campaign, and I got stuck on the part where you have to like just survive Karrigan's onslaught, basically. Not Karrigan from TSM. Like you build your bases and you build your. You have to defend down here for the camera and like up here or something. You just have these waves of.
You mean
things
the
that come at
last
you.
mission of Wings of Liberty?
Oh, is it the last mission? Yeah, I haven't got past it yet. I just keep getting annihilated by Karrigan. So. The only match I've ever had in StarCraft, I tried to play like matchmaking, but within fighting games we had like a fighting game tournament, and I was against Starnab from France, from Paris, and he played it a lot, and I tried to cheese him with probes.
With probes?
Yeah, I tried to probe cheese Dan.
Of all the Protoss cheeses, you rush him with probes. Like, did you not even at least try to cannon rush him or something?
I didn't have any. I didn't have a single. I wouldn't know how to do it fast enough. Dan.
Oh my god!
So I was like, all right, let me just try and kill him with the probes. I've seen the probes do it. Let me get the probes out. I failed, Dan. I died. Didn't work.
Oh my god!
Didn't work.
You should have gone on YouTube and just typed in cannon rush.
Right, let's go back to the questions.
Oh my god! I can't believe this.
You're disgusted, aren't you?
I'm pretty disgusted because in Brood War I played Terran, and I hated Protoss the most. And in StarCraft 2 I mained Zerg and also a bit of Terran, and Protoss were still the most annoying race to play against.
Actually, TLO was my favourite player when he played Terran, but Protoss was my favourite race. So you're looking at Zeratul now.
That is a long time ago because he's been a Zerg for a long time.
You're looking at Zeratul now?
Yeah, I think Zeratul. Because I'm pretty sure Zeratul is a Dark Templar.
Okay,
so
let's go Zeratul and.
Oh my god, that's my first instinct was right. I thought, because I couldn't remember specifically who Tassadar was. I know that he's like a super important.
Dan, we suck.
And that he's referenced a lot in StarCraft 2. I think he dies in StarCraft 1. I think because he sacrifices himself in Brood War, I think.
Oh, now you're coming up with all this stuff. Well,
now,
yeah,
I remember now. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I mean, someone can tweet me if I'm right, but it's been a long time.
It's a bit late now, Dan.
I played Brood War.
We lost the coins.
The Brood War campaign when I was like 10 years old, James.
We're going to bet on Fnatic versus Nip. This is one of the big Swedish face-offs. I want to take his face off. So, it appears that Fnatic are somewhat favoured on Unicorn, Dan. So do we go with... see, in this situation, I want to go for the value bets. I want to go for the NIP value bet. I want to go all in. Type in 10. Let's see how much. Okay, so we could win 31 coins, which means that we can. Oh, we need to show the marketplace actually. Let's have a look at what we could redeem our coins for. Basically, you can use the coins as raffle tickets. So look at that big unicorn thing, that big box. What's in the box, Dan? It could be chocolates in the box.
What is in that box?
It's a PC, isn't it?
Oh. I was looking from far away, and I was like, it doesn't look like just a box.
Wait, look at this King
It'd
mod
be
of
cool.
Rune power system. Okay, let's. Can we enter that? Let's enter this actually. Screw it. Oh no, that's for the next raffle. Okay. So what can we actually win now? We can win headsets, mice, a chair. I have a chair. I don't need a chair. Okay, I don't want to win any. Let's keep our coins for when that PC comes up. You have gone full screen.
I should get a white case as well for the winter. So I have a theme going on, seasonal theme. I want that in Counter-Strike, seasonally themed maps.
I think we should pick NIP.
For what exactly?
Against Fnatic. Because
I can't let you do that. Last time they played Fnatic on this map, they got 16-1, and they're in horrendous form right now.
Okay, half and half.
I just can't let you do that.
Wait, I think it should still be profitable if we go 5 coins Fnatic and 5 coins NIP.
No, because how is that profitable? You win almost nothing because they're so heavily favoured. No.
Well, yeah, that's why we should bet on NIP. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but I don't know I don't know the math to know like.
Come on, humour me, Dan. Humour me.
You're just throwing Reese's money away. Come on.
That's fine. What's wrong with that?
Poor Reese.
Let's do it, Reese. No, max bet.
This is how we pay him nowadays. We just put money on this site.
Take the coins, Reese. Look, dude, he's like making twice his salary on Alpha Draft.
That's true, actually. Twice his salary.
We could get sued now.
Yeah.
For those of you out there with legal representation, it's a joke. Okay, so our first match of the evening is going to be
TSM versus HellRaisers on Overpass. So Overpass match to kick things off. And interestingly, last time HellRaisers and TSM actually played each other was September 15th. So it's a while ago, but it was FACEIT League, and it was the same map as Overpass, and HellRaisers actually won 16-9. But they had, of course, the lineup, which was the normal HellRaisers lineup minus Dozier, because Dozier left for some reason. So after they qualified in a shock upset, defeating Nafi, and they qualified to our league. Then Dozier left. Then Dozier's like, I'm done with this. Done with this.
Screw this FACEIT stuff.
And then Simple joined to fill his spot, and that was what the lineup was, just with Simple.
The interesting thing for me is that how can TSM possibly prepare for this match, considering now they've got Sticker and Oscar?
Honestly, like they've been preparing for, like they went into PGL, and of course there was a lot of preparation they did for LAN, so they're coming hot off the LAN prep that they did for those teams. I think if they just play like a solid... TSM are one of the teams that, in my opinion, understand the fundamentals of Counter-Strike the best. Like the way they think about it and approach the game is the best, in my opinion. Because if you look at some of the other teams, I don't want to get too much into it. I mean, we can maybe have it as a discussion topic later. I feel like the other teams are like more specialized around what their skills of their players are. Whereas I feel like TSM are like the most rounded players, playing like really solid fundamentals. Usually that's how they try to approach the game. And from my discussions with them, they kind of mirror this as well. So I feel like they just have to do that, right? Because you're playing against a team that could be all over the place. So you want to be really tight and let them make the mistakes, because they're not a team yet, right? Really, I mean, they're a couple of players who aren't used to the calls, maybe don't know the right smokes and nades, maybe the team's synergy isn't there, the coordination's a little bit off on some of the pushes. Like, exploit that. That's what TSM should do.
One thing I found interesting recently is the performance of Oscar and Sticker. We've seen some good consistency in the few matches that they've had so far in HellRaisers. But again, when considering this kind of information, we have to make sure that we aren't getting lost in the honeymoon period, because obviously they're new to the team, but that means that people need to get used to their style of play, both as individuals and within the team itself, and need to figure out how to approach them, basically. So whenever you have like a significant change in a roster, let's say 2 people, or even one person, depending on the role of the person leaving, the person coming in, and how that changes the roles within the team itself. I'd say, again, minimum 2 months before you really know where the team stands, and giving their opponents time to adjust and make anti-strats for them, and look up how they're playing each map and so on. So it can always be fun in this kind of period, but then say 2 months after that, you find out really what's what, which I always like to watch. The journey is always good.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the situation where TSM essentially just need to play it as they always do and just use the team play that's been working really well. Like, one thing that's really cool to look out for is how Device and Dupree play off of each other. Like the double D combo towards the A side of the map
The
is
double D combo.
Usually really awesome to watch. And of course, like Xipnix has been playing so well recently as a support player, so we will also be able to like draw some attention to some of the rounds as to maybe in some of the slower rounds as to like, okay, where is he positioned? How does this actually affect his teammates? How because I feel like he's got so much spotlight recently as a support player. Typically, the focus doesn't go to the support player and what they're actually doing necessarily, but you more or less jump to the result of what they've allowed to happen or what they've accomplished within that team play, and then it's like, oh, we're looking at that player that makes the frags, so maybe it's the Device or the Dupree or maybe it's Carrigan. And Carrigan's another interesting one as well because he can run all over the place with the AWP. Carrigan's awesome actually because he's an in-game leader that will put himself straight in the action. Like, because if we look at this thing with in-game leaders, the best skilled in-game leaders or the best fragging in-game leaders is Happy. It's the first one. Everyone knows that. You're Carrigan. Carrigan's the next one. But the style that they both play is completely different because Happy, I mean, I think
Happy is a super unique style, man.
Yeah, well, he's just amazingly awesome at the game, but Thorin would call him out and say, well, not call him out necessarily, but call attention to the fact that he has more of a lurking-based kind of style for his fragging. That's how he, the more how he gets the frags, and he's kind of like leading the team
as well.
Like, because I mean, it makes sense, right? Because yeah, exactly. Because you
he's
can kind
of
you can kind of see like what's happening.
You might say that.
He's
I'm not doing it. No.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure they got it. I got it straight away. Maybe I know you too well. But yeah, but that like you can see he's able to like lead his troops because he can concern himself with his play kind of in isolation of any team play that he has to directly consider himself with, on top of understanding in a macro sense what's going on, because that's what the in-game leader is supposed to be looking at, the macro sense. That's why usually it's hard to be the AWPer and the in-game leader, because the AWPer is super like focused on a micro sense. Like you're completely tunnel vision, literally you're scoped in. You're literally tunnel vision. So
I got it.
Carrigan is interesting in this way because he'll take the AWP and he'll just get himself in the action. And he'll play off of his teammates. He'll do loads of all this kind of stuff. But then he's also the guy calling the shots, the guy that you always see with the iPad out with all the strats and the notes on different teams that they're playing and stuff that they've pre-prepared for the match. So he's a very cool player to watch because of his dynamic play.
I think you have to complement the team with that as well, because you have to have a lot of trust in your teammates. And I presume obviously they know generally what is required of them for an extended period of time in order for him to do that, because when he plays connector with an AWP, for example, on Mirage, then that requires a lot of focus, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad because we were talking a lot about TSM, but it's definitely a lot easier to talk about them. They've had a lot of the limelight lately, and they deserve it. And we've already established HellRaisers we're going to play it by ear already. I mean, I think Oscar was at least a week ago like #1 in the FPL still.
I think he won FPL last month.
He won FPL. So obviously the guy is individually like absurdly good. Obviously that's true. And we saw the great stuff from Sticko when we saw him last as well.
I think Twist is currently #1 on FPL. I was trying to grind FPL, but my placement matches put me in gold because I lost. I think I lost 2 of them, of the 3 actually, which was a shame. But gonna have to wait till next month for that grind. One thing I forgot to mention actually is that there is a unicorn raffle on Twitter for a factory new Falchion Fate. I think it might be StatTrack actually. You can have a look at the tweet and find out for yourselves. It should be on the bottom of your screen in a second or 2.
So I mean, another thing, that as another storyline that's been created is actually, when Thorin was, he also said, and as I've mentioned Thorin's name a lot because he does have the podium where he can actually, at tournaments like PGL where he can look at everything and make statements, and I think that they're very relevant to discuss. So the biggest one maybe was he called Device what he thinks is the best player in the world at the moment, and so the thing is, like, I mean, what do you think about that statement before I give my thoughts?
I don't really care who's the best player in the world. I'm more interested in like the best 3 players in the world or 3 to 5 players in the world. That's more interesting to me. I just heard that Kucha has got the fabled VAC authentication error, which will delay the start of the match by a few minutes, to bear with us. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't really care who people think is the the number one because it's subjective ultimately. I'm more interested in like a slightly wider discussion, say top 3 to 5 players. But if you have an opinion on top 1, let me know.
Well, I mean, so I think you touched on some relevant concepts there because like the subjective nature. But I think there's also, like, for example, I know where Thorin is coming from with a statement like this. You know, he's saying statistically, if you look at Device, I think he's got something like a ridiculous rating across the lot because they've had a 14-map win streak.
Yeah.
Device has performed the best when it comes to fragging in like every match almost. Like he's always been up there. He's always been delivering for his team and enabling them to close matches. So this is like really important because he's also not directly inserted as a star player. He is basically a star player for the team, but he's not the only very good player on that team, and that's I think why he's been able to do so well. So I think there are multiple factors in there, but I think within TSM, a team that is doing the best at the moment, he is the best player on the team, like statistically.
Best fragger then.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I think best player and best fragger are definitely. I think best player is very, very hard to define.
Exactly, it's like saying, you know, when people like I don't know anything about football. This is like where this is like how Thorin would do it, right?
I'm excited now.
but would you say, for example, say, okay, this defender is the best player in the world? Like no one would say that because it's harder to see their impact. It's harder to see what is the effect of how well they're playing because they kind of have a natural skill cap essentially to what they're doing because they're enabling other players to do well, or if they're defending, you know, depends against the team that they're playing as to how much impact it has and how well their strikers or the midfielders are playing, right? How much control of the ball that, you know, your team has, and all this kind of stuff. Like these factors all play into how well you can play. Whereas the fraggers, they always are getting the opportunity to exert their maximum skill ceiling. Yeah. And if they're able to consistently deliver because they get the most opportunity to deliver because on your team you're saying this guy has the most skill at shooting dudes basically, and we're going to give him the most chances to do that, then from that perspective, if the guy is really delivering to the extent Device has been delivering, I feel like you can make a case to say he's the best player in the world. But it's not the entire picture. But yeah. Yeah,
like where you're mentioning best player, like in football, for example, there's always going to be a bias to players in more forward positions.
Yeah.
Because it's the more flashy stuff, like say Ronaldo, for example.
It's the closer, the guy that closes for your team.
Yeah, but you'd get some exceptional like midfielders who are very aggressive, and the very, very odd goalkeeper, like super exceptional.
Yeah.
Like Peter Schmeichel or something. But you know, outside of that, you're only looking at strikers. So best player as a conversation is not one that I care about personally. Like if other people, you know, if there's a discussion going on, generally speaking, then I'm happy to bring it up as a mention. But in personal interest, best fragger, sure, that's interesting for me. Best players, plural, generally speaking, like I don't know, top 5 or something. That's cool because then you have opportunities to get different types of players in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's the other interesting thing as well is that like. It is always going to be a team effort, but it's what your team wants you to be doing as well. Because there are, like for example, I think a very good case for this is actually Virtus.pro. Because if you look at Neo's a guy that has star potential, and you can, you know, the guy's skill ceiling is really huge, but his team is not just, you know, he is accepting this being on the team, and his team is essentially saying, okay, this is your role, and his role doesn't really incorporate a style where he can always be having the most impact when it comes to fragging. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to Counter-Strike, the actual ability to close frags is going to be what determines you winning or losing rounds, essentially. So Neo has always had more of a support role. You know, he's kind of a support AWPer as well. Like for example, I think, you know, Cash on B is a good example there because he's not going to get a lot of action, but you expect him to hit the shots that he gets. But his shots are still kind of safe. Like he's not going to be like pushing like crazy. Maybe he'll be in the vent room, be able to take a shot. Doesn't go so well. He has the opportunity to back away, call for his team, get some help, maybe rotate a bit. Like it's not. He doesn't have to throw himself in there. And so that's Neo just, you know, settling back. He could be the best player in the world, but he's not, you know, or of what we've been talking about in that frame. But he's not putting himself in that position. His team's not putting himself there.
I guess, considering the general bias you would expect,
yeah,
it's more difficult for him to be considered that. So we're hoping we're starting in a minute or two, just waiting on one final player to join the server. One nerdy thing actually I wanted to say about your mention of Neo AWPing on B. Actually, 2 things. One is that you've seen on YouTube, on FACEIT.com, we are having POVs from every day of FACEIT matches. There's one of Neo coming up soon, actually. Another thing is, how you mentioned his general safe play on the B bomb site opening on cache. I was watching Fallen's POV on the same YouTube recently, and there are some situations where he will smoke the T entrance to B, and it just walks straight through the smoke. Like he'll drop it behind him essentially, and then just creep on his own with the AWP, which is quite cool. Always good to see people playing the same positions. Although Fallen does tend to rotate quite a lot. I put Fallen's signature on my Medusa scope.
Nice. Actually,
I like his warping.
That concept is actually really interesting because that's a gamble that really works very well if you know the other team really well. Like for example, this like it's something you wouldn't want to do against like the way that NIP used to play cache, and the way that the old Titan would play cache, because they would like invariably be playing rounds where they're gonna have somebody like get right. It's gonna be behind that smoke, basically, like almost all the time, because that's how they just play their T rounds all the time. But against teams that do like to actually maybe do more setups, you actually will get that 1 versus 1. It will happen sometimes, but not as much. So if it doesn't happen as much, then you're gonna get some free information. And if it does happen, you're a really good player, and you just kill that guy, then your team has an advantage as well. But I feel like you don't want to get the 1-on-1 if you can. You want to try to get the safe advantage, which is the extra positioning. So I actually really like that play, even though it can look a little bit like a risk. Well, everything is a risk. A little bit gambly. It can be a really good one if you know which team to take it against. So I really like players who are cognizant of this, and teams that are cognizant of that.